Hello, Stage Trees. Are you ready? Horrid Henry, Part 4. So we are on Chapter 3, and we are going to be reading about Horrid Henry and Moody Margaret. So let's get going. I'm Captain Hook. No, I'm Captain Hook, said Horrid Henry. I'm Captain Hook, said Moody Margaret. They glared at each other. It's my hook, said Moody Margaret. Moody Margaret lived next door. She did not like Horrid Henry, and Horrid Henry did not like her. But when Rude Ralph was busy, Clever Claire had flu, and Sour Susan was her enemy, Margaret would jump over the wall and play with Henry. Actually, it's my turn to be Hook now, said Perfect Peter. I've been the prisoner for such a long time. Prisoner, be quiet, said Henry. Prisoner, walk the plank, said Margaret. But I've walked it 14 times already, said Peter. Please can I be Hook now? No, said Moody Margaret. Now, out my way, worm, she said across the deck, waving her hook, clutching her sword and her dagger. Margaret had an eye patch, and skulls and crossbones, and a hat, and a cut-glass, and sabres, and snickernees. Henry had a stick. This was why Henry played with Margaret. But Henry had to do terrible things before playing with Margaret. Have a look at this picture. That's Moody Margaret. And look at her cool hat and her sword and her hook. Sometimes he had to sit and wait while she read a book. Sometimes he had to play mums and dads with her. Worst of all, please don't tell anyone. Sometimes he had to be the baby. Henry never knew what Margaret would do. When he put a spider on her arm, Margaret laughed. When he pulled her hair, Margaret would pull his hair harder. When Henry screamed, Margaret would scream louder. Or she would sing or pretend not to hear. Sometimes Margaret was fun, but most of the time she was moody or a grouch. I won't play if I can't be Hook, said Horrid Henry. Margaret thought for a moment. We can both be Captain Hook, she said. But we only have one hook, said Henry. Which I haven't played with yet, said Peter. Be quiet, prisoner, shouted Margaret. Mr. Smee, take him to jail. There's a picture of Margaret, and that looks like it could be Horrid Henry asking to play with a hook. No, said Henry. You will get your reward, Mr. Smee, said the captain, waving her hook. Mr. Smee dragged the prisoner to the jail. If you're very quiet, prisoner, then you will be freed, and you can be a pirate too, said Captain Hook. Now, give me the hook, Mr. Smee. The captain reluctantly handed it over. Now I'm Captain Hook, and you're Mr. Smee, shouted Henry. I order everyone to walk the plank. I'm sick of playing pirates, said Margaret. Let's play something else. Henry was furious. That was just like Moody Margaret. Look at Moody Margaret over there, throwing all her toys. She doesn't get her way, so she just throws all the toys and decides to change the game. Well, I'm playing pirates, said Henry. Well, I'm not, said Margaret. Give me back my hook. No, said Henry. Moody Margaret opened her mouth and screamed. Once Margaret started screaming, she could go on and on and on. Henry gave her the hook. Margaret smiled. "I'm hungry," she said. "Got anything good to eat?" Henry had 3 bags of chips and 7 chocolate biscuits hidden in his room, but he certainly wasn't going to share them with Margaret. "You can have a radish," said Henry. "What else?" said Margaret. "A carrot," said Henry. "What else?" said Margaret. "Gloop," said Henry. "What's gloop?" "Something special that only I can make," said Henry. "What's in it?" asked Margaret. "That's a secret," said Henry. "I bet it's yucky," said Margaret. "Of course it's yucky," said Henry. "I can make the yuckiest gloop of all," said Margaret. "That's because you don't know anything. No one can make yuckier gloop than I can." "I dare you to eat gloop," said Margaret. "Double dare you back," said Henry. "Dares go first." Margaret stood up very straight. "All right," said Margaret. "Gloop starts with snails and worms." And she started poking under the bushes. "Got one," she shouted, holding up a fat snail. "Now for some worms," said Margaret. She got down on her hands and knees and started digging a hole. "You can't put anything from outside into gloop," said Henry quickly. "Only stuff from the kitchen." Margaret looked at Henry. "I thought we were making gloop," she said. "We are," said Henry, "my way, because it's my house." Horrid Henry and Moody Margaret went into the gleaming white kitchen. Henry got out 2 wooden mixing spoons and a giant red bowl. "I'll start," said Henry. He went to the cupboard and opened the doors wide. "Porridge," said Henry, and he poured some into the bowl. Margaret opened the fridge, looked inside. She grabbed a small container. "Soggy semolina," shouted Margaret. Into the bowl it went. "Coleslaw, spinach, coffee, yogurt, flour, vinegar, baked beans, mustard, peanut butter, moldy cheese, pepper, and rotten oranges." Ugh. That just sounds disgusting. Whew. "And don't forget the tomato sauce," shouted Henry. He squirted in the ketchup until the bottle was empty. "Now mix it," said Margaret. Horrid Henry and Moody Margaret grabbed hold of their spoons with both hands. Then they plunged the spoons into their gloop and began to stir. It was hard work. Faster and faster, harder and harder they stirred. There was gloop on the ceiling, there was gloop on the floor, there was gloop on the clock, there was gloop on the door. Margaret's hair was covered in gloop. So was Horrid Henry's face. Margaret looked into the bowl. She had never seen anything so yucky in her life. "It's ready," she said. Have a look at that. So, our time is up. I wonder if they are going to eat this gloop. What do you think? Let's see. Wait for next week.